Okay, we're at 7:01. I'd like to call the January meeting of the Riley Purgatory Bluff Creek Watershed District Board of Managers in order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And I have one change to make right off the bat, which is to add under 7H, under new business, the discussion of the chloride management. So Louis Smith will be talking to us about the memorandum on status of direction. Anybody have any other changes to make to the agenda? Yes.
I'd like to move 6B as the business.
New business, okay. Any other changes? Yes.
Madam President, I would request adding item 8B, which is Larry Cook versus the district and Hennepin Carver counties that's the appointments policy.
Okay.
It's added as 8B.
8B, okay. Okay, any other changes? Right, I should also say that all of the managers are present. That's an important thing. Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. We just changed. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda as we just modified it, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. Next, we'll be holding a public hearing on the North Lotus Lake storm. Is there anything you'd like to add to this, Terry, before we open up any comments, if there's anyone who would like to comment?
President Patterson, managers. So within our 10-year plan, we had identified what is cleverly known as LL1. And that is located in North Lotus Lake Park. We, in the past, looked at LL1, LL2, 5, 7, and 8, I believe. And we put them all into one larger conceptual study to see if there was efficiencies that could be gained by doing all of these projects at one time. I'm going to try and open up the plan while talking. What came out of that were several projects that could be done by the city of Chanhassen. In fact, 2 of them are being incorporated in projects that they have. One of them would be moved in, would be more of a maintenance project to be handled by the Public Works. But Lotus Lake 1 or LL1, the North Lotus Lake project was the top, and of course it's for me now. We put together a concept design that just looked at putting in filtration features in the area. We brought it to the board. Our engineering, Jen Keeler, who's the project manager on that, presented the findings and concept. That time it was decided that there might be opportunity here to expand this project to do prairie restoration, plant restoration, soil augmentation, add some artistic elements into it, as well as boardwalk and other engagement pieces to it. For whatever reason, it is not open. So we take the services of Gita Patina LLC, which is a partnership of a designer. Scott, could you see if you can open it, please? Because it won't open at the computer. Just the concept plan, North Lotus Lake, so that people see what we're talking about. And she has come up with several different artistic developments, which the board has seen. During this entire process, we held 2 community engagement project functions, and then we also had a joint neighborhood meeting with the city of Chanhassen for their road project. We were also there. The reception from the public has been positive. There have been a few comments about the length of the boardwalk, location of it, some comments about the art element, kids climbing on, and how we're going to address those. Those can all be flushed out, I think, as we go through the process. We have also engaged with the Chanhassen Parks and Recreation Commission twice, as well as presented at a workshop of the Chanhassen City Council and held numerous meetings at a staff level with members of Chanhassen Parks and Recreation, Chanhassen Public Works, and Chanhassen Engineering. So conceptually, this is where we are at. The city is moving forward with two projects, one located east of it, one located west of it. This project could, in addition to being what is identified in our plan, could serve as a cooperative project with the city of Chanhassen. So what you're seeing in the dark green areas are the three infiltration or filtration basins, depending on water soil records find. The more olive green, the more boring green is the Prairie Savannah restoration. The area where the hand just was, where the red circle at the south of it is, would be a rise with an art feature up top, looking out over the lake. And then there is a boardwalk that you see right at the bottom of the screen that would allow for engagement with the lake and an educational process of how this land use impacts the lake there. One of the comments that we heard from all of the residents, well, not the residents, but the majority of the residents, is that a connection to the lake would be nice. What that meant to people changed depending on who you talk to. So tonight, what we are asking is for to proceed with actual civil design plans. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail when we get to the item on the agenda. But in order to be able to align the two projects, Chanhassen's project, this project, we need more granular detail, what the outlet elevation is going to be, flood elevation, recommendation, volumes, etc., soils, and to be able to do some of the hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. So that's public hearing tonight would be to take comment on this project. And then we'll get to it later on in the agenda to authorize BAR to begin with the design of this project.
Thank you. So at this point, I would like to open the public hearing on the North Lotus Lake Stormwater Park. Do we have anyone who would wish to speak from the public? Anybody on screen? I can't tell, Dylan.
Don't think so, no.
Okay. So we don't have anybody who wants to comment on this project. So at this point, close the public hearing and pick this back up again at Scott talked about it later in the meeting. Next, I'd like to open the section of matters of public interest. Do we have anyone who would like to speak? I'm here in the audience, and I do not see anyone on screen.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, so since we have no one here to want to comment during the matters of public interest, let's proceed to reading and approval of minutes. So I'm looking for first a motion to approve the minutes of the December 17th meeting, and then we'll talk about any changes that we might want to make. Move to approve the minutes of December 17th. Thank you.
Second.
A second. Thank you, Tom. Okay, any changes anybody has to that? Those minutes from December 17th.
Well, last thing before during the meeting, it says Administrator Jeffries said he and district staff will generate a list of ideas out of both the managers shared this evening. Is that coming or?
Yes, that would be forthcoming.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes from December 17th, say aye. Aye. Next are the approval of minutes from the January 7th Board of Managers meeting. Look for a motion. To approve it. Thank you, Bonnie. All right, any changes need to be made to those minutes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the January 17th meeting of the Board of Managers, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. Next, we're on to committee reports. The Citizens Advisory Report and minutes. We have a couple of meetings that we have minutes from. Do we have anyone here representing GAC? Yes. Hi, Sharon.
I stand up here, it feels weird to talk out your back. I was not in attendance at the December meeting, but if you had any questions about the minutes, I could take them back and ask someone who was. Okay. Okay, well, we had a great January meeting. We got 4 new CAC members, as you know, and I think this was one of our most fun times because we did a potluck. We sat around, we kind of talked. I don't think we really watched the clock, and people just talked about what their areas of expertise were. And then people would say, oh, well, I used to do that. So there was like a lot of back and forth and was very casual, but I think we got to know the people and know where people's interests were. And the other thing that I really liked, because, some of you that have been on CAC in the past, sometimes it's not clear what exactly you're supposed to do, like each meeting, right? And if you're a big doer and you're getting off of retirement or getting into retirement, you're like, I want to do something. And sometimes it takes a year before you figure out, well, you don't come every meeting and do something specific that you can, yeah. So one of the things that I think was really good is we had a chance to talk about examples of things that the CAC has done and kind of how we got to do them. So like Michelle Jordan had wanted to test a certain kit, I forgot it was a name, not the cost share thing, but it was a community involvement kind of a thing. And so we found out that people, why they don't do it is they didn't have the stuff. So a bunch of us got together, we applied as the CAC, we applied for some money, we got these buckets from Home Depot with grabbers and vests and all kinds of stuff, and we made these. And then when we kicked them off, the year we kicked them off, we said, if you did it and you returned the stuff, you got $5 or $5 gift card or something. So anyway, but it was a cool thing. Is that a robust project today? No. I mean, we know we got those, but I'm just saying that sometimes we needed sparks. And I really could see as people talked about projects, we're kind of like, oh. And also Liz was really good to continually say, do you have an idea? Shoot me an email if you got an idea. So she really promoted engagement, and not that everybody has to have all the ideas. So I think it was done a little different. I thought it was really good. Let's see. One of the things that Marilyn shared was that some of you were interested in the Paddle to the Sea River of the Dreams program. Love that program. It's with those little kayaks. And so anyway, I could not find my materials. We switched computers at home, and I think those materials went with that. But and I think the person that person doesn't work there anymore, who I was dealing with. It was either Maya or B and I, right before COVID, and we had put something together. We were going to bring it to the board, and there were 2 issues. One, COVID, and who could ask teachers to do more at that point in time, right? No, you could hardly get people to do any, right? And then the other thing was there were some inappropriate language in the book. I think it used the word squaw a couple times. People had some offense to that. And so I asked, when I called them, I was like, how do you get around it? So how they were getting around it is they were having the teachers read the book segments instead of giving the kids the book, because they approached the author, he wouldn't change it. So bottom line is, it seemed pretty cost effective. Plus, we have so much robust data here. And that's what that company spends a lot of their money, is getting the data. And so we had a lot of data. And so we were starting to talk about pricing, and it was going to be a really more economical for us because we have so much data, and it sounded like a good thing. So it was bad timing, but I personally take on continuing conversations with them. And then when we get to a point, we can present something to you for what it would cost. And And it's really kind of a multi-year commitment. And I think that was the thing too at the time. Previous administrator was not so excited about having volunteer group running a yearly committed program. And that may not be the issue anymore. So anyway, so that was that, and we're really excited. And then the last thing I think of discussion other than the minutes was the we decided to switch our meetings to a different day to accommodate a bunch of things. And so we're going to be meeting on the first Thursday now of the month. I'll just represent because I'm getting to give the talk today. I'm going to represent that I had a little issue with shortening the number of meetings we have, even though we don't do a ton at the meeting. I think the camaraderie and knowing people that now, oh, this person's an herbalist. Oh, I can connect them with this person. I wouldn't have known that had we not had a meeting and had some casual conversation. So we did go to the shortened schedule. I personally will, at the end of the year, if I feel like we didn't get enough, I will be asking to maybe not change the day or the time and stay on Thursday or whatever that's going to work. But I think that was more my thing. The majority felt, let's give it a try to be shortened and make use of our time. So I think that's about it. Do you have any questions?
Reaching out to Asher about the River Drains program, forwarded that information.
I sent an email based on what you sent me, and I didn't hear back this week. I sent it on Friday afternoon, and then being Monday was the holiday, and so I was going to follow up today, but I didn't get a chance to do it.
If you need another contact besides Asher that might be able to help, just reach out to me and I'll look in Minnesota Watersheds Convention book. And there's another person.
Oh, I sent it to both of them.
You
You
sent-
sent me that flyer,
Okay, good.
so I sent it to both.
Thank you.
Any questions for me or anything you want me to take back?
Thank you, Sharon.
All right.
Much.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is the December administrative.
President managers, I don't have too much to add, although I would like to say that yesterday, myself, Will and Joseph Posey, I forget. Yeah, and Darren Gallus and that item from 9 Mile. So Representative 9 Mile, Pilot Purgatory, and Lower Bend met with Deb Patel to talk about how, since we're all going through our plans at this time, how we can take a more holistic approach to this region. You know, it was a, I wouldn't say this meeting was overly productive. It was more introductory. Where is everybody at? Their planning process. What are our goals and priorities moving forward? We hope to have another meeting again. We're planning to have another meeting again in April, where we'll get all of the presidents of each of the boards, as well as the administrators in the room together. We've got the talent to continue this conversation. It aligns nicely with some of the other initiatives that are going on right now. So Hennepin County has the Natural Resource Partner Coalition, which is redundant, so if you're going to change that name, but which is really trying to get a hub, a clearinghouse of all of the data that people have and put it in one place, put it in the map so we can access that. And that's good to Minnesota. And then Metropolitan Council has started an integrated water planning approach where we're getting people who are utilities, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water, all in the same room and talk about all those whole life. So I think it's really good timing. I really appreciate it, Commissioner Dotel taking the effort, taking the time to meet for this. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Otherwise, if you have any questions, else, let's move back to the
There.
Yeah, you. He can talk.
Reached out to Graham today, by the way, and definitely April. And I think they'll be moving it to closer where everybody else is. So they like the suggestion of maybe having it at 9 months.
To well, a little bit at some watersheds.
So
And I'm excited to hear that you guys got together. How was Karen's contribution?
Karen was, I mean, I think she at this point was really kind of listening there just to, I think she was trying to think about how can it get integrated. They're working on it right now. It might, one thing Joseph talked about was maybe approaching Scott County and seeing if we can expand it to include beyond just having county. Right now, it's just kind of having county. So, but it was good having her there. She is the one central thing that we all have in common. So,
She's got more staff. You understand?
yes, yeah, she is.
And then at the Met Council thing, I understand that James gave a presentation.
Yeah.
How was that received?
Yeah, so it was James gave a presentation as well as somebody from Dakota County and Stearns County. And it was really about how do we do, regardless of what plan type it is, how do you do a more integrated plan where you get all your stakeholders together? So it was good. It generated a lot of discussion, panel discussion afterwards. It was really informative just to hear, one, the obstacles that people are running into, and two, how brainstorming of ways to overcome those obstacles. So it was really nice to have, they were there and very active and engaged. And that was really nice. So it was probably a couple other people on that phone. One more time.
Since the lost nitrates. This area, it really stepped up at the concert.
Yeah,
So
it seemed to be.
I appreciate the things that Steve Robertson's been talking about. So, okay, that's all. Thanks.
Any other questions of the administrator about the administrator report? Yes, go ahead.
I had a question. You wrote that you were again drafting the RFP for an architect for the Spring Road. And that you were researching resilient, energy efficient, and net zero building design standards. So I'm like, did the board, I'm feeling like I missed this, pass the resolution to send out the RFP for architectural services?
Yes, so kind of been the meeting you were here, yes. Was so Senator Stovring and President Patterson are the, what's the term? Liaisons. As I draft that, it will come back to the board for approval to be submitted to go out for.
So we haven't submitted a resolution
No.
to, okay,
No.
I was just,
Yep, no, they were drafting it so that.
it could potentially happened early in 2024.
Yep. For review by the.
Okay. And that was the other question is that they've been, that liaisons have been involved with this.
No, not really, because I haven't given them a response to, but yes, that's.
It was something like, you know, when you talk about researching resilient energy, that's your buildings, is that something, you know, the CAC could do, or is that something that you're having them work with, or is that just?
Yeah, right now, I'm just looking at what are the design standards that are out there that we want whoever we get to consider as they go through it. Because we'll end up meeting with them and because I want it to be more of a design build approach. Like, okay, we can do all of this. What do the managers really feel is cost effective?
It was, I make sure I didn't miss the resolution. I make sure they were, that our liaison committee was engaged. That was,
Yeah, so
that happens. And is there a budget item for any of
Yes.
this? And
yes, so
I didn't see it particularly.
it's just the Spring Road Conservation. It's just called that within the. So that's covering everything from bonding, taxes, and just part of it. But very done, what we're trying to solve is how do we put this in our books? Because it's the new thing we have not had to deal with it before, a bond and the liability of equity.
Right, and I just, that it also sort of brings up the, like, do we have a plan, or is this part of it of what to do in the short term? So you're talking about the long term, but we've got buildings there that are unsafe, you've got the pool that's unsafe, you're having events, you're inviting people out. be coming forward with a plan, resolution to take care of like what's there, picnic tables, a shelter, get the buildings safe or gone or filled in. Is that being worked on at the same time?
Yes, that is the plan, to do all of this in one fell swoop. The same architectural, but go quotes.
That feels like more urgent, and like it's something.
Well, if the board is in concurrence, I would
Okay,
like
good.
already tell her.
I have not heard anything.
He's been doing stuff all along.
Yeah.
You know, he's had to have one pull out a couple times because
All right.
we've had rain and
Right.
things have happened.
So,
That was really it, just to make sure the budget is there, because we also keep sort of passing things that. This was it, the regenerative watershed governance proposal. I have to put that down. Is there? I don't remember that.
that was, those are,
I know, but what do do you call it something different, or is that a word choosers to describe that study?
Whatever you do.
I know, I would like to have something that's like, I can't remember, okay, the regenerative study, I don't know, what is it, that means? Yeah, I don't know what it means, and I don't remember it, so I'm trying to,
it's our way, it's an environmental justice. So it's really what it is. How do we involve our marginalized communities in that?
I just want to know what to call it, what you.
That's what I'm calling it,
It's
but
just an unnecessarily difficult
Name, I just would like to be able to refer to it as something other
something
than.
a little easier to understand.
Right, so, yes, we need to it. So it's the environmental justice study, with that word for you.
meaningful to those in that, oh, I mean, it's a made up word. If the managers want to call it something different, please.
I just heard from reference, so if there's something, so I'll write it down and I'll be using it.
Yes, Benjamin.
So speaking to that, so we had asked that you to cities about interacting, so we got some feedback on where they were on some of the stuff. Is anyone, you do, Covington's doing some really good stuff. Now, not necessarily our watershed district, but they're engaged with
So,
poly community, so.
Kozar has been involved with, I don't think really needs saying what Kozar's energy that's been devoted to lately. That she, to me today, not yet read the letter that she got back to me today with the draft. Letter to go out to the cities.
Anything else from the December administrators report? You have questions or comments? Okay, or anything else? So,
Are we discussing North Florida Lake later on in the meeting?
yes, we are. Any December staff report? Any questions, comments about that? Okay, not hearing anything. Next to the December engineers report. Any questions or comments for Scott? Do you have anything? Yeah, it's just a little slow this time of the year. Permits are slow. We'll be seeing you again as spring starts heating up.
Obviously, you're starting to analyze the data from the Lewis Lake cores.
Okay, next to the December regulatory report. Any questions or comments? Again, not much on that report either as well. Yes, yes.
So there's one item on there that's been hanging out for a long time. Is there ever a point where you'll consider taking whatever action we can take, legal action of some sort? And also, because this, I guess, does it set a precedent for somebody that really doesn't like our rules, just continue to flaunt them indefinitely?
Which one is that?
I think it was the very last item.
Yeah, but you have pursues a violation here for board managers.
So, the short answer is yes. We can bring them back, much like what we did with the individual who did not so offer the excavated on Lotus Lake. I apologize. I don't know much about this. Andrew was on vacation, so I did not get a prize from you beforehand. What this one is, do you know what the avenue is?
I do not.
Sounds like we need to find out about that.
I guess it's just a question. I think we've discussed it in past meetings that as a board, we really have little that we can do. We have no police authority to do anything. So the question is, do we do anything? And effectively, it gets to our rules and our regulations. If we can't do anything or we won't do anything, does that mean that somebody reads this and follows it?
Mr. Smith, he's going to answer that for you.
Okay.
And President Manager Isabel, I want to emphasize that you certainly have authority to deal with this. There's a process that we have in place. It involves ultimately bringing the party for a hearing here before the board and ordering restoration and deadlines. And if those deadlines aren't met, then you ultimately have the authority to go to court, and you have the authority to impose the costs of that process for you on the applicant. And if you need to go to court, you have the authority to ask the court for assessing those costs on the property. So you do have authority. You don't have authority to issue fines, but you have authority to order restoration and to impose costs of the process. So those are things you do have the authority to.
So my question to the rest of the board members and to the staff is there a point where we should bring them in just for
So, President Pedersen, managers, this is it's an old permit, but it's actually new on this permit board. I
This
didn't
is the first time it's been.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's the old one that was on there for several months.
Yeah.
This is a new.
It's an old permit number, but this one I do recall. So this is in Minnetonka, and it was a single development where half of it is being developed by one person, and lower it sits on top of the hill, and then there's a house down below. And one of the contractors has been very responsive. The other has not been responsive at all, and that's this one there. And they're the ones with BMP on site, and they are not maintaining it. So we sent them a notice of probable violation for the first time. We met with Minnetonka 2 weeks ago on this. They are also sending a letter. They are withholding their certificate of occupancy, which is a much stronger
stick.
If that does not work, then yes, they will be before the board. The contractor is non-responsive, so we'll need to work with legal and how we contact the certified mail and what we do with that. But yes. So this is just
Okay.
So we're at step one of the process. We give them notice that they are in violation.
Thank you.
Anything else from the December regulatory report? Questions? Not hearing anything. Next, legal. Do you have any legal report here?
Only items would be later on your agenda.
Right. Thank you. Manager reports. Anything any of the managers want to discuss?
So I have a comment or just a question. And I've seen it on the city of Minnetonka and maybe others, but I'm just wondering if it's appropriate here. In their agenda, they have a similar process where they have consent agenda and new business. Then they have some comments about what like a report is. But at the bottom of it, they always put staff recommends approval. Is that appropriate to have anything like that on our agenda so that we know kind of our staff's position is on the things rather than just it's being brought up because it's a board item for the board to consider, and as opposed to what's your view on it?
So we can definitely do that. My view is anything that we bring before you, with the exception of variances, we are recommending approval of.
Okay.
That's the reason we're bringing it to you. But if you would like it spelled out, yes, we can certainly spell it out.
I'd like to reiterate, there are certain situations that have been like on the Duck Lake study to have a recommendation or something like
Our recommendation.
maybe you didn't want to go there, but there's some things that, yes, it could be inferred, and there's other things that we might need a little direction on with the staff. And we can always ask to.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if the manager would like that, these formats are just what we use and every board is going to have things they want to see. So if there's something you would like to see on, please let us know. Put that on.
Yes, you want.
Yes, I think
Yes,
that's
we
since
want
we're our decision.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's
It's something you can talk to me about. I budget. I would think something.
Just trying to, it's just seemed like it's a kind of a different protocol. And I guess I had heard you say before that the assumption is that everything that's on here is because you're okay.
Yeah, we try and bring you things that we've already vetted. There are some that we get directions to go back and get more study on, and sometimes but yes, we can certainly. That's
The engineer report always has.
Always it says,
Yeah.
yeah. The engineer recommend.
In there.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a few items that are recommendation, and we could also at the time, just if you're prepared to give us a recommendation.
Okay, so now next we're into the consent agenda, which we have one item on the consent agenda. I would hear a motion to adopt resolution 26-006 for naming the official newspapers.
Move to adopt resolution 26-006.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Thank you. So any questions on comments? I don't think.
Then there's some with that.
It's not new, it's new business. There's some moved them at the beginning of the. So all those in favor of adopting resolution 26-006, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, next we're on to new business. First item is adopting the resolution for naming U.S. Bank and Forum Fund as the official depository for Riley Purgatory Watershed Funds and Investments, which is 26-007. This time.
Make a motion to. Good first.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the norm?
That's the norm.
Okay, I move that we approve resolution 26-007. U.S. Bank and for accounts.
Yeah, thank you, Bunny. Okay, yeah, questions?
I have a comment and see. It relates to having, if in the memorandum, if we could have something that talks about
zero balance portion of it.
it's if we could have a one-page attachment to resolution, and the one-page resolution would have a list of reference to the governance manual that deals with these sections. We had some issue with it last year or the year before relating to whether or not the administrator could make an independent movement of funds. And then there were some issues about who is the signatories. And so what I would like to see added to the resolution here is that we include an appendice that would list out authorized signatories for the various accounts, and that they align with the elections of officers, which could change. They change from year to year, where these resolutions might not change for some time. So something that brings everything up to date. And it also references sections in the governance manual that relates to how we deal with funds in these banks.
I think you're only really looking for where we're putting money, correct? Not how it's administered, correct?
President Pedersen managers, yeah, this is really just to designate them as depositories, but I'll let Mr. Smith speak to more specifically what you're having. I think the governance manual already spells that out, what you're asking.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of throwing it out as a question. And again, it raised some issues last year, or the year before, as to who would authorize, what was the protocol that require a audit and finance committee meeting, conference with the administrator to move monies. And I think it was triggered from the original land purchase and just got missed in our recording of transactions. And so anyway, I'm just raising the issue if it makes any sense. We're talking about designating our new banking authorities who has responsibility to deal with those authorities from watershed.
It's just a reference to where it is in governance.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we had an appendix that, or we do this renewal, that lists out the officers and it references specific sections in the governance manual.
I agree.
I'm suggesting, Mr. Smith, feel free to interject, but that perhaps we had a recitation to references the governance manual. That ultimately that already spells it all out for us in that.
And President Manager Bell, I think I agree that this resolution really has a singular purpose, which is to designate which entities are your depositories. And I think your other questions or suggestions go to financial procedures, which are addressed in the governance manual. But I think you're expressing a desire to have a handy reference sheet that just sums up who is the authorized signatories for accounts or moving money. We could certainly send that out as a memo, but I don't think there's a need for you to act on that because it's already been acted on in your governance manual. And the purpose of this is simply to designate each year under the governance manual, you must designate your depositories. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any other questions? Shall we vote on this?
Yes.
So you're asking for a memo?
Well, that was my suggestion, and it's been clarified as to why we don't need that. So,
And then let's vote on adopting resolution 26-007. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, next is adopting resolution 26-008.
that we adopt resolution 26-008.
Thank you, Leslie. And questions on this one?
And I have a comment on that. Yeah. I guess these relate to some of the experiences that I can sometimes recall the last couple of years. So a depository of the bonds and LOCs. Does it mean that Smith Partners, do they actually physically hold copies of these documents, or it's just like money in the bank?
And President Manager Bell, we have custody of not copies, but the originals.
The originals. So I guess the flip side of that, and it's a situation that I think we do need to spend a little more time on. It relates to our permits and sureties payable on our balance sheet. Currently, we're at 500,000 plus or minus, and it's been $1 million at times. And I don't think the policy and protocol has really been laid out in terms of those releases are actually given internally and then as it flows through to the board. So again, I'm not sure how to deal with that, but let's see. Resolution itself, maybe it's the same thing and it's referenced in some other areas, but in terms of who approves the releases and how it's documented in the board records and finance reconciliation. So if there's a release of a LOC, how is that done? With the Smith Partners, for instance, or what's the process on that?
President Manager Duval, we maintain a log of all of the assurances, their bonds or letters of credit, non-cash. The staff or typically the staff send them to us. We record them. We maintain a regular log and status. We report that log back to the staff so everyone has a shared record of what we have custody of. And then when a project is concluded and the applicant requests release of that surety, we will proceed to do that with the staffs.
So and what is happening at our site, President Patterson managers, is depending on the project and complexity of the project. So they are required, the permits itself list the conditions of approval. We will look at those conditions of approval relative to what they have done. So, for instance, if they have stormwater BMP on site, we require an as-built record drawing be provided to us, which is reviewed by myself or engineer Sobiak. And we will look at, is it within reasonable tolerances of what was approved? You know, if it's 100th off, we're not going to say it's not approved. We will also, perhaps if it is an infiltration basin, we will require infiltration testing or a flood test. So flood test, fill it out, 48 hours. If we will also look at establishing the vegetation on site, the decompaction of the site, the removal of their temporary remote control BMPs. Have they provided pumping logs if they're using reuse on site? And once they have provided all of that, then we will either write to Smith Partners to ask them to release either the bond or the LOC, or we will put it into the board packet for a check to be issued if it was a cash escrow. And I think where the instance that I think gave you the biggest heartburn is something that I worked with Barry Dunn on, and then that is, how do we track, how do we have, when we put the check for it, rather than just having it be $180,000 to entity X for financial assurance, have something that cross references. We received check number 1938 from this entity on this date for this permit, and this amount being released is equal to what that is, and going back to the same entity, or we have confirmation from them that the entity we should release it to is Z.
And this may be relating to the previous resolution, that this is merely stating who holds those documents. U.S. Bank has the money, insurance, LOCs, that type of information.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that relates to what we're talking about right now really is a internal accounting, administrative kind of, if we need to do any tightening or changing of that, that's really where it resides.
President Patterson managers, I think this is actually a good conversation to have with all the managers. So one of the things that we did encounter with our prior accounting firm was being able to ask for a quick record of what are all of the financial assurances you hold in that. Well, like pulling teeth a lot of time, whether it's reluctance to give us or not having that good record. So I'm actually meeting with Barry Dunn tomorrow morning. That is one of the things on our agenda is how are we going to put that as its own fund and how are we going to track that? So, Manager Bell and I have had several conversations as well as Mr. Monahan about this. And it does need to be, something that will be addressed.
Is that it? Thank you. Okay, so, yes.
So when I was more involved with the accounting part, there was a spreadsheet that you had, and there was like one tab that showed the permits. I mean, they were listed, and the amount and the dates, and I mean, the information was there, and I don't know whether they've still.
We still-
kept it. Probably. But we still get that every month behind. Most of the stuff in this spreadsheet.
Yeah, so we can work up that's as it works, but it would be really nice if our accountants actually had. Yeah, thank you.
Document.
Yes.
I mean, I think of the form we have when we're doing the paying. You always have that schedule on what work was done, what was the escrow or whatever we kept. What we kept them and then it all tied out. I was just all that stuff didn't everybody else talking to you too. But you had that one sheet and it was just concise and it was like so you knew exactly, hey, we're paying this off, this is what happened. So I don't know if you
That's
are
actually
asking
a
for-
pretty good idea to come up with a modified pay application for release of financial assurances that release of cash escrows that would just be put in a packet as part of the treasurer's report. Be added by us probably, but
it'd be more, it shows some accountability.
yeah.
Very discussion.
Okay, let's vote on adopting resolution 26-008. All those in favor of adopting that resolution, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, next item is the resolution and accepting the December treasurer's report and approving payment of bills, and I believe we have an amendment to that.
Wasn't there some managers that let manager will speak to the amended resolution, but as all the managers are aware, we are changing accounting firms. At the last meeting, board to just continue the contract with that app on the basis of their 2026 rates. They have not responded to that with a contract. But they did provide us a treasury report Saturday. I don't know how many of you looked at it in great detail, but I cannot good conscience recommend approving that treasury report. And I think Manager Bell is in agreement with me. So what we are proposing is just to pay the bills and then I will work with Barry Dunn to have them, because Red Earth has been very good about providing the materials Barry Dunn has been asking for. So Barry Dunn has not had any issue getting materials from. So let me be clear about that. So I think they have enough information now that we can work with them to zero out 2025 and that. So that is that I think is the overall recommendation. Pay the bills. Next month we'll come back to you with a complete accounting.
Anything else you want to add?
Okay, so I move that we adopt resolution 26001,
The resolution,
the resolution.
which was should have been by your place.
As amended.
That's
Yes.
As an-
Okay, so it's not what's written now.
No.
Thank you.
So that
You changed the.
Yeah.
So thank you.
you're changing it, just maybe or.
This.
or amending it.
It's this
We just amended it.
So,
amendment.
so amendment to resolution 26001. Okay, only. We wanted to report that. So I would change the title of the resolution to be approving payment of the bills. And the second part of the resolution rather than now therefore be it resolved. Change that to read, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Managers hereby approves paying the bills as set forth in the January 21st, 2026 meeting of the Board of Managers. Yet further resolved that in light of the identified reconciliation variances and supporting report inconsistencies in certain month ending supporting reports provided by the Red Cabinet Company, board directs such items to be reviewed by Barry Dunn as part of the district's transition to the new accounting and budgeting systems. Barry Dunn will report back as part of the February Treasurer's report meeting.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Hearing none. All those who approve the amendment to resolution 26-001 as Manager Duval gave us, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Done. Yeah.
Well, I did get Donnie Jones' financial statements and I looked at them, so, I'm expecting that I want to get. I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah.
We should just get it.
It's not a huge joke still.
Well, I was-
Yeah, well,
so,
no, it is that, we may hear from one more time, but Barry Dunn is supposed to take over all 26, so 26 should all.
I'm going to just say, quick, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's run to adopting resolution 26-002, ordering the North Lotus Lake Stormwater Project, which we heard about in detail during the public hearing section meeting. Looking for a motion.
Is it that is this? Mr. Lewis, myself, and Engineer Sylviak, I had a discussion. Mr. Smith raised a few concerns he has, and we'd like to make a modification to the resolution as such.
And for the managers, maybe just a word about, there's a lot going on with a project like this, especially cooperating with a city kind of planning a parallel project. So one of the issues that we are discussing is how far to go in the process of incurring design costs without having a cooperative agreement with commitments from the city about what it agrees to do, like making city land available for the project and other things like that. You might remember, some of you, not that long ago, an issue where we had incurred a lot of design costs. Where we wished that commitment had been clear. So now, in our discussion, want to suggest two changes to the resolution, beginning with the second resolving paragraph. Reads, be it further resolved that the Board of Managers direct staff and consultants under the direction of the administrator to engage with the city of Chanhassen to coordinate efforts, including coordination with the consulting engineering firm responsible for the design of the Chanhassen Road reconstruction projects related to this project, land use rights, and the development of a cooperative project agreement and a maintenance agreement. So that the cooperative project agreement is explicitly called out. And then in the next paragraph, it reads, be it further resolved that the Board of Managers directs the engineer under the direction of the administrator to prepare all plans, specifications, and notices as may be needed to solicit contractor bids, which are to be brought back to the Board of Managers for consideration, provided that the engineer shall not proceed beyond 60% design or commence preparation of specifications until the cooperative agreement with the city of Chanhassen is approved and executed. So then we know we're not, and another important part of the discussion that educated me is that we need to continue to advance the design process enough so that both the city and the district can be clear about the capacity of the stormwater facilities and how much is going to be utilized by the city for its road project, how much is beyond that. And and estimated cost, those kinds of things, so that the city and the district have kind of a full understanding of what they're each promising. So we believe that getting to the 60% design level will allow you to do that, and that there is a substantial amount of design costs you wouldn't incur beyond that unless you have cooperative agreement in place.
That aspect of the changes and how it's moving forward makes sense in light of what we heard at the open house and what from the tent estimate itself, where they're at with things, because they hadn't decided on how they're gonna proceed.
They are moving forward Fox Path. View is in limbo.
Right, there was so that could change and impact.
How many craft?
Does that have any impact on what's in Tasco to do?
There's an manager and it doesn't change what's in there, it just limits the amount of work that would be done. So we would go through the 60%.
So would you amend this then? Task plan, just to include that, or not?
I think when we get to the task order, we might insert a similar phrase. We can do that, but right now, just for this resolution on order,
Just one next year.
it all ties together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted I'm sorry. I had comments and I submitted one on the public site, you've also heard of, but just about some of the artistic, aesthetic things and just we talked in your presentation about a place to overlook the lake, and that's not what's designed. So,
I disagree with that.
okay, well, that's fine. I thought you were looking, it says it's looking up at the sky. Was that looking over the lake?
But it looks a little like
So for a person who comes to the top of it, I would like a place to sit and look at the lake. And so I wanted to say that I think most people's expectation is you'd have a place to sit and look at the lake kind of over. There can't say it's sky focused on the top of it. So it was just, I guess I felt pretty strongly about that because I would like there to be a bench there. And that the rock boulder wall, which I think is a cool concept, is there's many citizens who said that's where the kids go sledding.
removing that.
Okay, that seemed to be a constant. I like the idea.
So, Mr. Smith, was that you're conditioning this authorization, or how did that read again? That you don't have to read it again, but if you could just paraphrase.
And President, then it's basically inserting process that would be a commitment to getting the cooperative agreement achieved with TNS. And that the engineers advancing the design to the 60% level and not proceeding further or starting to do specifications to put it out for bid until the cooperative agreement is executed.
So it's adding a condition, it has nothing to do necessarily with the order for fire.
Well, that's a separate action item. And as Manager Crafton pointed out, when we get to that, we might want to read that and just make sure that the same condition.
That's item A.
Yeah, it's all part of this resolution.
I'm sorry. But then I think it's going to be addressed.
Yeah, so I don't know if this gets with that at all or not.
That's the first paragraph. So, yeah. But I think the language we've inserted in the other two paragraphs addresses this.
So the financial component of this was 406,000. Is that part of next?
So if we were to do all of it, it'd be 406,000. So it will come to some point at 60% where we just won't be spending any more money unless we have the rest of it in place. So you are approving 406,000 total dollars of expenditure.
Okay.
If we get a cooperative agreement in place.
Right. So the question I have related to the budget, I pulled that up from our last meeting. with the north, or we have a Lower Lake watershed improvement. And we have three categories of expense for 26, and the total there is 350,000 in the budget. And engineering is 180,000. I'm not sure what other professional services is regarding that. It's in the budget. The budget that we approved in our December meeting, next year's budget for things like watershed improvement. Has 150,000, has 180,000 for engineering services for this project next year, the year we're in now. So how's that related to the 406? That's my question.
So break down the that, that's sort of where they need, just look at the total. That's in there, the 330 is that a reflection of that. So we had thought we would be further along on this design by now. We had come with a concept plan, then changed that concept plan into these elements. So all of that, those different categories will be blended into one and go to the design.
So it's still is a difference.
It's still 50,000 less than is.
We will have to, when February when we come with reconciliation budget, then we will talk how we'll have to transfer.
And all of this is predicated on getting the agreement with Shea.
Not all of it, because we will incur costs to get to the 60%.
Under the 350,000.
Right. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
So then we will, in February, we will look at all of the comments and where they are at.
Because I had questions overall, from some of the other
Yeah.
budgeted items we agreed to, and I don't see them. I had budget out too for this meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
I need a motion that's going to encompass all of this.
This is resolution 26002.
Yes,
Yeah, we approved resolution 26-003
with the modification.
with the modifications. So Mr. Smith made.
Limiting it to 60%. Conditionally
Okay.
cooperative agreement.
Right. Okay, so I need a second. A second, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of amendment approving adopting resolution 26-002 with the modifications as stated, please say aye. Aye.
Send us a copy.
Do you any nays or any lies? Your eyes. Thank you so. Okay, next year.
Dylan may have captured it all. He may not have.
We are now on to adopting resolution 26-003, which is adopting the personnel handbook which you were sent. Very long, lengthy document.
Susan Pedersen, managers. So personnel committee meeting, the personnel committee met twice to discuss this. Mr. Smith, myself worked on revising it. Staff have used parts of it. One thing that is missing in here that will go in the final one is a acknowledgement of receipt by the staff. So all the staff will need to review this again. It's right in provide. I feel that it meets our need, meets the statutory requirement, provides us a document that is not okay, which frankly was. I would recommend approval of it.
Can I hear a motion, please?
That we accept.
26-003.
To accept this personnel.
I need a second. Thank you. Okay, discussion.
So in the resolution, it's referencing earlier work, earlier handbook and various meetings. So it's one of the things that I would like to see in this resolution is something that dates this handbook and puts a version number on it. Could be an exhibit attached to it. Again, going back to the governance manual days, we're going back and forth over many different versions of it, and we used to spend much time at the beginning of each meeting wondering which version we were looking at. So that's one thing, but to have it be a part of the policy relating to employees, I think it'd be very, very good that we have an exhibit A attached to this that's acknowledging that this is the official version and it's dated so that any changes in the future. And then so there's another section in here that in the amendment that talks about any changes will be without changes noted in the minutes. Let's see. They aren't part of this yet. And I guess I would like to limit that to be non-substantive changes. So they can relate to like formatting and typos and things like that.
As in Pedersen managers, that part is really if you changed anything right now at this meeting that we had to incorporate that. That's what that's meant to encapsulate. So if you came up with, so that's right now.
Okay. Then one other question that relates to money regarding this again is this is dealing with new regulations that are just taking effect this year regarding employee benefits and all kinds of different components of this. I'm wondering if we have any idea what the current accrued PTO liability is at this point, and potential separation payout exposure the watershed might have.
So President Pedersen managers, I don't have that number in front of me. I did bring it to the board 3 months ago when I first recommended that we change it from 720 hours to 480 hours. It is substantial. That's why we went to 480, but this manual gives till the end of 26 to get down to that 480 rather than taking base PTO away from.
So again, I can't state exactly what's happened in our last year audit, but the auditors made a adjusting entry that added a large or substantial component of liability to the watershed regarding the same thing. And I'm not sure it was referencing this law. This law may be impacting that. So again, I'm just wondering if it's a significant enough event that we try and document it with regarding the adoption of this new official policy, just so that we're acknowledging that this is a new liability on the books that we may not have shown before. I guess that, yeah. So I'm asking that kind of as a question, make it as a comment and a question.
Mr. Smith. Madam President Manager Bell, I would say that I understand your concern to be the financial liability for unused PTO that might someday need to be paid out. There's not been a change to the law that would affect this. Your manual has dealt with what the payout is. And as Mr. Jeffrey said, we've adjusted it, the cap downward, so there'll be a transition year to get down from 720 cap to 480. From a financial standpoint, what the liability is, I would say is outside the scope of your personnel policy, but more again, a financial accounting matter that, Mr. Jeffrey had given you a status report on and probably can update over, from time to time.
Okay.
Because I think it's an important liability to track, but I would say it's not a new liability in that sense.
the one that we haven't been recording on a monthly basis, it's picked up on our annual audit basis.
Right.
So it's like we're keeping another set of books for audit purposes versus what we need to look at from month to month. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just different and it is a liability that's out there. So I guess my only comment then would be that we have some exhibit that references that this is the official version and a date.
President Pedersen, managers, the official date is 12/1/2025, and it's drafted as adopted January 21st, 2025, and 2026.
Andrew Crafty, you had a comment or
Just say, it would be good to document that, so we had an audit trail for this transition. Essentially saying.
So, and that date is in the footer documents. We'll add a copy page to it.
it's written in there.
Transition.
I'm sorry.
You can put something about the liability, you have to write some kind of an audit trail, essentially. It's just describing what we plan to do.
Yes.
Separate from this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Any other comments or questions about the personnel manual? Not hearing anything, let us vote on adopting resolution 26-003. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. And next, we are looking at electing officers for the Board of Managers.
Madam President,
Yes.
start, I'd like to, if she's willing to, nominate, Bonnie Nelson.
Any other nominations, or do we want to do this as a slate? Want to do this?
Maybe with the way.
Either way. Either way, whatever way you like.
Yes, like to nominate a slate.
Okay.
Sure. He's willing to continue to get making good. If this is interested.
Pearson is, oh, I mean, president and he is the vice president. So it's treasurer and Jill as treasurer.
Secretary.
Yeah.
Just anyway, that's my.
Anyways, it's.
Okay, so, any other slates? So I guess what we would do is say the slate of people is, Dorothy Pedersen as president, Bonnie Nelson vice president, Tom Duvall as treasurer, and Jill Crafton as secretary. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And President?
Yes, would you vote each one? I'm not sure he wants to do
I'm
this.
confused myself.
Okay.
I heard first a nomination for Andrew Nelson for president. And then I'm a little confused on, once you decide to have a nomination just for one office, how you vote on a slate separate.
I
So
guess, Mr. Jeffrey said we could do it one way or the other.
right.
Yeah.
And I
So we're
didn't hear
kind
a
of-
second from the first nomination for president. So then I asked, would you rather vote as a slate?
Oh,
And that's how we got there.
okay. So under Robert's rules, which we use as a guide, you don't need a second for a nomination.
I'm sorry, that,
So then it's really the board's pleasure as to what you want to do with the process. Do you want to go office by office or slate? And I pick one of those two lanes and then go through.
okay, I think you said slate, correct?
Yes.
Bonnie? I say slate. So all of us agree on a slate.
Is there another slate?
And now I have already asked that. I said, is there any other slate of candidates? And I did not hear any.
Okay.
At which point I proceeded with the vote.
All right,
Is that how you would like me to do this, Mr. Smith? You're in charge.
I think I understand it. So what was the vote?
I will say on the record that I am going to support Dorothy to be president and we continue with the slate of candidates with that.
Okay, and also how you vote.
And then we'll vote entire slate.
Would you like each person to say yes or no individually?
Yeah.
Okay. For the slate of candidates, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Dorothy, yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
no.
I think we have good minutes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, next is establishing the membership of the committees of the Board of Managers. So I believe the first committee we had in there was, yes,
Again, you can do this either way, implement it how they want to do it. As a slate, for all of the committees or committee by committee.
okay, shall we do this as each committee or as each committee? Okay, so remind me again what the first one is. It's not audit finance, it's governance. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, you'd like to be on the committee for governance. Okay,
I would like to continue. They still have not met.
So let's do that. 'Cause I have.
On this committee with this.
It's an easy committee.
okay, should we have Manager Stovering and Manager Nelson as the two nominations for the governance? Okay. Am I hearing that's correct from everybody? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Shall we vote? Do you need us to vote individually?
If it's clear how all 5 members are voting, that's all we need. For
Okay. Okay. So, are all of us voting for the Slater candidates? Yes, for governance committee. Yes, 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 yes. So be it. Okay, what's our second? Dylan, please help me out.
Personnel.
Personnel.
Nominated, you got down there nomination. So, did you read that?
Me, Joe.
Nomination. It says call for nominations. Was that it? I like the self nomination. I think it's that. If you want to do it. And I see nothing wrong with that. If you want to continue.
President, I hate to speak up again. Can I just jump in?
Sure.
I was unclear. Nominated Manager Stovering and Nelson for the governance.
I did, and then she
They nominated
self-nominated. Okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you got.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Henderson and Nelson.
Okay, back we are to the personnel committee. So,
I'd like to nominate Manager Henderson. Doesn't Henderson. Personnel.
so nominated. Okay, we need a second person on the committee.
I can stay on. Okay, that's.
Okay, Manager Rapton.
Thank you. I kind of need to hear that before I nominate someone. That helps.
Okay, so we have 2 people who are nominated for the personnel committee. You want me to go each person to get approval for that?
You can, again, call for voting. As long as we're clear who's doing.
Okay, I'm calling for a vote. President Pedersen to be on the personnel committee, Manager Craft to be on the personnel committee. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. None opposed? Okay, next. Audit finance or is that, am I correct?
Yeah, that's the only one left, so.
Audit finance. Oh, I think we have to have Manager Duval on the other.
Like to join that. I'm staying on that one unless somebody else would like to serve. That's
Okay, Manager Crafton. Manager Duval.
I'm happy with that.
Okay,
He doesn't call meetings either.
Okay, so apparently we have consensus. Would you like me to take an individual vote, Mr. Delson? Or Mr. Smith?
Smith.
Okay. Yes. Yes, okay. All for vote. Okay, so for the member of the Audit and Finance Committee, we have Manager Duval and Manager Crampton. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? None. Do we have all of the committees taken care of? Yes. That's perfect. Okey dokey. I believe that that's it for those. Now we are down to adopting resolution 26-009. By the way, thank you everybody for volunteering your time to do this. It's wonderful. We all are doing. So thank you. We're to adopting resolution 26-009, approving task order 54.
President Patterson, managers, the engineer so that I can speak more intelligently to the actual what's going to happen than I can. But so we have completed modeling for Eden Prairie and Bloomington. Minnetonka has completed a model for Minnetonka. What remains is for Chanhassen, Deep Haven, Shorewood, the Chaska, that's within us. This modeling is using latest rainfall data, hydrology, and flood risk assessment. This will be necessary as we move through all of the other resilience mitigation, as we look at full channel, downstream impacts, etc. The task order had a number of different things in it. There are things that I pulled out until 2027, and that would be optional task 1A, task 5, and task 7 would all occur in 2027. The remaining tasks to occur in 2026 for a total of $196,000, which is within our budget. So this was budgeted 2026 budget. I will let Engineer Sobiak speak more intelligently on what the model provides for this year.
President Pedersen, managers, the model is intended to build upon your existing hydrologic and hydraulic model that you have. Additionally, to add in some additional developments, up to 25 additional developments that have happened since your model was first built and calibrated back in 2025. So we had to put some guardrails on in terms of the number of developments that, and we're saying the significant developments. Individual single family home doesn't move the needle on this model, but your larger developments, your ABN type developments, we want to make sure we capture. And the focus is going to be in the Chanhassen area. So the Riley Creek portion that's in Chanhassen and the Bluff Creek models are the ones that are remain to be updated. We did do some updates previously for the portions of Purgatory Creek that were in Bloomington and Eden Prairie, and then Riley Creek in Eden Prairie. Minnetonka, as Administrator Jeffrey said, updated their own model. They provided that to the district, so we're able to bring their data in and piggyback on that. So there's the updating the model. There will also then be using new rainfall data that is expected to come out later this year as part of Atlas 15. And then future efforts, will be going through and doing some of the risk prioritization of flood-prone areas. Optional tasks and task 5. So things we're pushing off until 2027 to fit within the available budget for this year. Are there questions?
Yeah.
I've heard. All right.
So in the resolution, the second whole right now, so we talk about identifying flood mitigation and resilience as a goal. How does this speak to resilience?
President Henderson, Manager Crafton, what this does is it gives you the tool to look at areas to know where you need to build in more resilience into the system to provide flood protection.
Like was presented tonight during the workshop, or,
That could be one
Or
of the
the- yeah,
Alternative.
BMPs that we keep doing that keep sending water to the Gulf.
there were the BMPs selected to analyze haven't been selected yet, right? We haven't identified them. One of them could be what happens if 50% of the district were to do yard enhancements, soil enhancements. What would that do to the overall conditions of the country? It is something that the model will be able to show us.
Okay, so that can still be
Correct.
that was, because as I read this through the lens of current state of thinking these days with the water cycle, and everything, I mean, it still seems so focused on status quo that I find disturbing, let's put it that way. Just the way it's written, so that's why I was concerned that we can still.
Manager Crafton, we talk about Atlas 15, which actually gets that updated rainfall mouse into the model will update. You can explain that.
Doubt that,
Okay,
but if they're not incorporating soil organic matter and transpiration as part of how they figure that stuff. If we're still in the same old way we've always done it, that's
President Pedersen, Manager Crafton. Your model, the district's model that you currently have, incorporates evapotranspiration, incorporates infiltration. It is a more complex model than a typical developer is going to use when they come in and look strictly at her. So we have more knobs in this model to adjust to account for changes in different aspects of the hydrologic cycle. Evapotranspiration, infiltration, extraction, depression storage, changes in vegetation, as it changes how the water runs out. So it's a very flexible tool.
okay. It was the vegetation part that I felt it's missing kind of, and that was, if we change that, that can really change some dynamics. And because this seems really pushed on. Great. So that's why it was.
It's focused on
Clarification.
rain and runoff and flooding.
With lots of questions.
then you got.
I just wanted to know more about the flexibility. Thank you.
So I have a question for Mr. Sawyer. So with 5.6 deferred, then what's going to be usable this year? This quarter? President Peterson, Manager Dugan. What you'll end up, you will have a usable model. The pieces that are getting deferred are the documentation and some of the prioritizing of the flood risk area. So we won't go through and we'll identify flood risk areas, but we won't go through and say this one ranks based on the prioritization scheme higher than the other. Then that'll all come next year.
So then the follow-up question then is for who approves the prioritization criteria? Once we get that, is it the board, the TAC, the staff, or so it seems like that could become political at some point.
There's some managers. It is an existing prioritization that we have that is prone to change, which is another reason to push that into 27, because we might decide there are different metrics we want to use for prioritizing those areas.
And with the metrics that you currently have, they've been used throughout all of Eden Prairie and Bloomington. And those were developed with a lot of input from the TAC and the cities.
So just one additional comment. I thought that Atlas 15 was being slowed down or stopped with the administration, the federal administration, pulling the plug on the development.
President Pedersen, Manager Dugan. We had 3 staff from BAR sit down with the folks that are working on Atlas 15.
Okay,
They interviewed us and they are assuring us that it will be coming out this year. The first volume, which is the updated rainfall. Okay, the second volume, which starts to look at
predicted forecasted rainfall. That's the part that may get delayed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
That's the latest news I have.
Okay.
So does Bloomington continue to send? We already, we're still using it originally. We got,
We're using what we have from LinkedIn. The original model that was then updated back in 2020.
Any other questions?
So just one last question on the budget then, is it the 214 or is it the 286? That's.
You're approving $196,400 of expenditure at this time. We will come back in 27, requesting budget from the remaining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion.
resolution 6. Castle.
Do we need this with the modification of 1A, 5, and 7? Not going to be funded until,
It's in the resolution.
it's already in the resolution. Okay, excuse me. Okay. All those in favor of adopting resolution 26-009, approving task order number 54, please say aye. Aye. That's, yeah. Okay, we are on to the update on the Larry Cook, 2 lawsuits.
This is first bit of chloride.
Oh, that's right, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this was the status and direction of chloride management.
Yeah, okay. And since it managers, my partner Murphy Welch has been working for a number of years on chloride legislation and policy. And I think consensus of many of you participated in the Minnesota Watersheds conference discussion and other discussions. I think that the general consensus is that continuing to press for the legislation that deals with liability is not likely to be successful, given the division between the different interests of the legislature. And so the direction has been instead to pursue some regulatory approaches that would be independent from that liability issue. We have been asked to continue to work on this and pursue those regulatory discussions. And we've done so with Browns Creek Watershed District and Mangrove Creek Watershed District, agreeing to support that work with $5,000 for 2026 each. And so the request is whether Riley will be interested in supporting that as well. If you are interested in that, then we've itemized kind of a list or a catalog of different kind of regulatory approaches that are under discussion and identifying those that seem to be of the most obvious interest, but certainly happy to have a discussion, take your direction on that as well.
Yes. So we talked about, okay, first of all, I support doing this work. Is this something we're going to do the budget reconciliation next month? Is it something we should maybe find out how this would fit within it before we do something tonight?
So, Terry, can you answer that question?
Physical Pedersen managers, we could take this out. I would see this fitting into the education budget.
I just, before we move forward, because I know we've had a lot of, I think we need to be mindful of that.
So $5,000 over professional services will absorb $5,000.
You have a question? Got it.
So I listened to Michael Welch at sort of the watersheds. He was really sick. I'm really surprised he was there. But it was like he was talking. It was a discussion about being between the rock and the hard place in terms of the past strategy. And I've been on board now. This is my 4th year, and I've listened to that same pitch over and over in Minnesota watershed. That is a dead horse. Only there's no way in the current book for how many environment. So my understanding of this and then additional discussions at Minnesota watersheds, this is the direction we have to take, and this one actually probably has a chance to succeed. So I think this is a very nominal expenditure towards moving forward on a path that's going to lead to change. I'm really in favor of this.
I agree. Everyone agrees. Would you like a vote on this?
Just want, before we finished, it wasn't just regular terms, just there was other, some like having maybe the state and there was other approaches besides just
Licensures.
Yeah, so
Licensing,
yeah, so I just wanted to make sure we didn't limit ourselves to that, but it was the other alternatives were laid out in Michael's
Yes.
things that.
English degrees on the stick.
Since we're on the subject, I wanted to mention that I have been nominated, or I am on the legislative committee. We discussed that this. So yeah, so just so you know.
President Pedersen managers, Mr. Smith, in here, his second ask is there an approach that appeals most to the managers? I don't know that it's necessary for him to move forward with it, but I think if you have a strong opinion, it would be.
So I'm most interested in the science standards and requirements. Let's get ahead of the time. Behind it. They're already thinking that we used to use this much salt. Why can't we have standards that steer? That's kind of what I'm. We also have an opinion.
Yeah, and then there was another one that I thought is, can you make like ask or push having state agencies adopt or something, get standards and sort of start setting the way and moving towards that, not necessarily in the private sector, but moving in the public sector setting to make that.
And that would help with the liability standards.
So that one was so there were several ideas and there's a lot of people working on this and I don't know how to settle on. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge to know which idea is the best. There's like 3 of them that seem, and he had them highlighted in his a presentation in December. And I would say that's what Minnesota watersheds were sort of focusing on those same avenues.
It's helpful.
Yeah, correct.
I'm thinking in some respects, throw everything they can at the wall, see what sticks.
That's the
The
way.
discussions. So they can get exercise and to get through the legislature. Might well go to get the best thing.
So I'm just saying, at the moment, today, tomorrow, they want comments on what our legislative talking points are going to be on chloride. So I will be writing some notes up tonight. So if you really do have an opinion, this would be the time to state it.
Okay, any other comments, questions? You need a motion for this, Mr. Scott.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Starting the ninth mile on Jones Creek and paying out $5,000 for our portion of this effort to pursue regulatory or whatever path forward on for the Cherokee community.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the,
Question.
yes,
So it's 5,000 is a portion, it's a portion of 5,000.
no, each of them are
Each.
giving flat.
Each are giving that.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed. Okay, now, past 7-8. And we are on to discussion items, which is the Cook versus Riley Park. Do we need to go into a closed session, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Madam President, I'd recommend we go into closed session for discussing 2 litigation matters for the purpose of receiving confidential legal advice and strategy and updates. First concerning Larry Cook versus the district and Terrence Jeffrey, that's the Spring Road Conservation Project litigation. And the second being Larry Cook against the district managers Nelson and Kraft in Carver County and Hennepin County. That they call the appointments process litigation. So that would be the suggested motion.
I need a motion to.
Session.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All those in favor of going into a closed session, please say aye. Aye. Not opposed, and would you like us to go into